Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide. Well, today we are gonna do an in-depth review of the very tiny, simple, minimalistic Light Phone 2, which is an e-ink screened simple dumb phone. Not a smartphone, but a dumb phone. This is a device that I purchased myself, so it's a completely independent review, as all other reviews are on My Deep Guide. And one of the reasons why that's actually possible for me to do is your awesome support. So if you do like the work that I do and you would like to show some kind of support, you can definitely like the video, you can subscribe to the channel, ding the notification bell, comment, and all of these things, because that helps raise the visibility of the videos. And if you want to actually show support even further, then go down to mydeepguide.com/shop and check out the My Daily Organizer 2023 is now out. It's a document that can help your professional or personal needs, or both, yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily organizing needs. And if you would like to learn more about it, check out the link down in the description down below for the My Daily Organizer playlist, where you can find a ton of info more and decide if My Daily Organizer 2023, or whichever version, is the right product for you or not. Purchase of the My Daily Organizer helps My Deep Guide remain independent and actually purchase exotic, strange little devices like these that are not cheap at all, and bring you an objective and impartial review and impressions. So let's dive into the Light Phone 2. So Light Phone 2 is a minimalistic dumb phone, so an opposite of a smartphone. It uses an e-ink screen, and the whole point of it is detaching from social media, from internet almost entirely, living your life through your own eyes and your own experiences, and not through images on a screen and through shared experiences on social media. Now, I'm very much behind that kind of a message. I think it's an important one, very, very important one. And also, as you know, I do like the e-ink technology, because despite its limitations, it has a lot of positive things to offer on the side. Main things are high visibility in direct sunlight or highly bright lit conditions, which incidentally leads to lower power consumption and things like that. So that's the theory of the thing. And basically, yeah, this is just a phone to make phone calls, have some tools/apps and messages, and that's about it. So the idea behind the Light Phone is that it's supposed to be light. So light in usage, light in obstructing your life, and I guess that should summarize in simplicity and practicality. Now, Light Phone is a very small phone. As you can see, it's a really, really tiny factor. We'll go over the specifications in just a bit, but first I want to cover the design and the build quality. Well, first of all, I really do like the design of the Light Phone. I think it fits the hand really well. It has rounded edges where it needs to have them rounded, and the build quality is actually quite nice. You can actually see that the manufacturing is good, and basically it just looks pretty. It's something that's nice to hold in your hand, and it's nice to operate. At the front we have a flush screen with the Surface, a glass top. I believe this is full-on glass. We have a speaker, we have a light sensor, and all of this is fitted into this kind of a bucket design. Now, somewhere it says that it's an aluminum kind of an alloy, and somewhere it says that it's plastic. It does have a certain coldness and a little bit more hardness than a typical plastic, so I'm led to believe that it may be aluminum alloy, but I'm not entirely sure because there's really a lot of conflicting info about that. On the top we have a 3.5-inch headphones input. We have a power button. On the side we have volume rockers up and down that can also double as different kind of buttons in different apps. Then we have a menu or a tools button. And on the bottom we have a microphone and a micro USB, not a USB-C. On the back you just have the little light logo. It's kind of difficult to catch in the light, and that's pretty much it. So that's the overview of the device. What I do like about it is that they've attempted to match the color of the screen with the outer shell, and while it's not perfect, there's definitely a little bit of green tint in an e-ink that's missing from the outer edge. So it's not a perfect match, but at least it's a very, very good attempt. It's a very small device and super light at around, I think it's 78 grams, so it's something that really works well. Specifications of the light phone are light. So it's small in size at 91 millimeters by 55 millimeters wide and 7.5 millimeters thick. As I mentioned, it's a 78 grams light, and it runs what they call their own light OS, but basically what that is, that's just a modified, heavily modified and optimized Android system, which we will come back to. It does have, as I said, an e-ink screen, which is a black and white screen, and the device comes in black and white versions, and of course it has a functionality to do an inverted display, so you can match it in the black version as well, so that the screen is black. The material on the back, I guess, is anodized aluminum. On the front is glass, and at the heart of it is 4-core 1.2 gigahertz CPU that has 1 gigabytes of DDR RAM at its disposal, and we have 8 gigabytes of storage, non-expandable. The screen is a 2.84 inch e-ink screen that runs a resolution of 480 by 600, which means that this is around 270 ppi, and has a glass panel. No idea if it's a Gorilla Glass or anything like that. The battery that's powering this little device is a tiny 950 milliamp battery. More on that a bit later. Connectivity wise, it offers 2G, 3G, 4G as far as mobile networks go. Then it has a Wi-Fi and a Bluetooth available as well. It is equipped with just one SIM card slot, and it's using a nano SIM. And as mentioned, data communication is a micro USB. The company's justification was size, but I don't really buy that. That doesn't actually make sense. That doesn't track because, for example, a much bigger device like a Nova Air, it's using a USB-C, yet it is thinner. And this area here, let's say from the bottom to the top, is near identical. So they were able to put in the same amount of, let's say, depth and thickness, and less thickness, they were able to put a USB-C in and not a micro USB. And this glorious bit of minimalism is priced at $300 US. Ouch. So let's answer the question, how does it actually run? How is it actually to use this device? So let's cover the OS and the UI. Well, unfortunately, the general OS navigation is cumbersome. Despite the simplicity of the device and it being the main goal, it's rather cumbersome, simply because it's one of the most inefficient and unrefined UI and UX designs that I've seen in a very, very long time. So, for example, in order to access the tools, which are basically the equivalent of your apps, so let's say I want to go to my podcasts, or maybe I just want to set an alarm and adjust an alarm. I have a dedicated button on the side, but it does nothing to the device while it's asleep. So the simplest function and the lowest amount of taps or actions that they have to perform in order to get to the menu of choosing one of the functionalities is power it on, wait a little bit, and then tap on the side. There's absolutely zero reason why this button wouldn't also wake the phone up and put it directly into the menu that I'm looking for. It's something that just simply doesn't make sense, and it's artificially forcing the user to do a one, wait, tap, wait, then go. No need for that. And things actually get quite a bit worse if you want to toggle Wi-Fi or Bluetooth on and off. Touching the icons, of course, doesn't do anything. That would be too efficient, I guess. So instead, depending on where and how many tools you have, you need to do 6 or 7 steps in order to actually access the option of turning the Bluetooth on or off or Wi-Fi on or off. So you need to do, for example, from a powered off state, you need to do 1, 2, 3, okay, 3, 4, 5, choose which one you want, let's say Wi-Fi, 6, 7. That is absolutely ridiculous. There is physical room here in the screen enough to actually make this top toolbar twice as high and make the icons twice as large, which would actually make them clickable with a Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth icon, and then you can just tap on them here, and that would be a shortcut that gets you directly to the option of toggling your Wi-Fi on or off and Bluetooth on or off. Isn't that a much simpler and much more disconnected kind of a thing? I mean, if the motto is we want you to use our phone as little as possible, then you need to make it as accessible as possible. And having 6 or 7 steps to just simply turn the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth on or off is absolutely ridiculous, and I can't see any excuse behind such type of an implementation. Now, overall navigation is rather simple. You have your so-called home screen, which you can customize if you want to have date or time or nothing and all. So that's nice that you can make it to be really, really minimal. It has this central button, which is your phone button. And from it, you have a dialer where you can actually dial. And you can also go to the contacts, which I've removed so that we don't have any contacts here and I don't have to blur things too much. And in the contacts, things are as expected. You can add contacts, you can search for contacts, and you can edit contacts. So things are good there. As a phone, it works fine. Once you receive a message, you get a little kind of asterisk sign, which is kind of cool, and then you can go and read your messages. And the messages themselves are readable and okay to read on the size of it. What's not okay is something regarding the screen, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Then you have your side button, and when you press your side button, you get to your tools. Now, by default, you will only have 3 options here, and this will be, I guess, phone, alarm, and settings. That's all that you will have. So that's pretty much it. The additional stuff that you can see here is something that you can install from their dashboard, and we'll have a separate chapter on that to cover that as well. But to know when you start, you go with phone, alarm, and a settings menu. Okay, so you have options here in settings, airplane mode, you can manage your notifications, you can manage Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, account info, which is required to actually use this device, and you also have general preferences, and in general preferences you can set your time format, home screen, which you can customize. Hey, I don't want my date, and I don't want voicemail icon, signal and battery, phone shortcut, etc. So in theory you could actually disable everything, and then you don't even know when the home screen is on. Okay, like, ooh, so esoteric. Then we have keyboard, and the keyboard has a spell check, auto capitalize, auto period, return, but there's no language. So you do have QWERTY, AZERTY, and Quartz options for the keyboards, but there's no languages to choose from. You have haptic feedback, which is vibration, and then you have hearing aid control via the voice commands. So that's basically your general settings. In the phone, you have message settings, forwarding, contacts, Wi-Fi calling, cellular roaming, regular things. In display, very limited things. You have a sleep timer, and you have an option to invert colors, as I said, so you can have the inverted colors throughout the whole phone. And screen light, it does have a screen light, we'll talk about that. And there's no adjustments or anything like that. You either have automatic, always on, or always off. Very, very limited settings there. And it's something that's actually a bit of a problem because it's not calibrated properly, and it would be nice if you could actually set your defaults for the light and how it behaves. So you have a passcode to lock and unlock your screen, and then depending on which tools you have installed, you have edit toolbox, so you can actually rearrange these things so that you know what's where. And then you have different tools if they're installed, or apps, let's call them apps. So for example, direction navigation and podcasts, so those have additional settings that are available here. And that's pretty much it. That's all you got. So that's it. As far as the system goes, it makes sense that it's limited, but yeah, it is most definitely limited. One other thing system-wide that is worth mentioning is the system-wide keyboard. So it automatically flips the device into landscape mode to make the available width for the keyboard as wide as possible. And that's a good thing. So this is, for example, typing a message, right? You have a send and things like that. And typing is manageable. Okay. Or something like that. So it does work, but it's very, very tiny. And yeah, something that you would expect. However, something that's kind of cool is that this icon here, you have voice to text, and that works rather well. Yes, I would like to enable it. That's fine. And now I am typing with my voice to text feature, and this would be my SMS content that I want to send to the recipient. And as you can see, it's actually really, really good. One thing that's not good, now we have a problem, system-wide, there's no way to kind of hide the keyboard so that I can see my message, and I'm forced to read at 2 rows of text per screen. That requires a lot of interaction with your phone for something that should be rather simple. Again, I think that a simple icon for minimizing your keyboard would be good, like an arrow here, because look at this amount of unused space here. Completely unused space. You could have fitted either numbers or an icon that will minimize, like an arrow that minimizes the keyboard, and then you see the whole features. Click the arrow, the keyboard pops back up. You don't need fancy animations, you don't need anything like that, just functionality. Because this is really cumbersome. And it's like, okay, so now I'm typing with my voice to text feature, and this would be my SMS content that I want to send to the recipient. As you can see, the voice to text functionality is exceptionally good, but again, it only functions in English, so there are no other languages that you can use. Furthermore, there are no special characters in the keyboard at all. So if you live, for example, in Norway, where I do, and there are special characters, you can't really type in and do a search. And for example, if I wanted to add a contact and write, let's say, to a person named Oyvind, I wouldn't be able to type the person's name correctly because of that limitation, which is kind of silly, because what I've purchased here is the international unlocked version, not the US version. So if you're offering an international unlocked version of the product and you're basing your OS on an Android, what you do not want to strip down is characters, the ability to reference people's names and addresses correctly. Overall, I think that as far as US and UI and UX of the Lite Phone 2, I think that this is a shining example of how not to do user interface and user experience design on any device, let alone on a device that centers its entire existence around lightness, simplicity, and practicality. So when talking about the performance, navigation and stuff, I mean, it's so simple, there's no point in talking about the performance itself. But what we can talk about is actually about the power up and shutdown time. Now, shutdown time is actually quite long. So he's still going. It's around 15 seconds for it to shut down. So it's still shutting down, still shutting down. Okay, and now it's off. And this is how long it takes for a light phone to start up. And no, this is not an out of the box or anything. Been using this for almost 2 months and it's been recharged many times. It's normally charged and everything's fine. So the power up on it roughly takes 52 seconds for it to power up. Go light indeed. You're going to be looking at that for almost a minute and thinking like, okay, couldn't they have put these $300 into something else, like maybe better software development? And I don't understand how is this okay. On the same light, I'm not really surprised because it is a stripped down Android, so it has to load up all the services, it has to load up all the drivers, it has to do all of the things that the stripped down Linux would not need to do in the first place, or a properly written light OS would not need to do any of these things. And now we're finally on. So go light, yeah, I don't think so. All right, so let's talk about the screen itself. And let's just open up a note here so that you can read the text. And I don't like it. And on the paper, 270 ppi should be more than enough because, for example, 10.3-inch devices and 13.3-inch devices, they have 207 or 227 ppi. So I was expecting at the very least the same type of quality and clarity from this device as well. But what you instead get is a very mushy, never fully sharp type of a text with a very, very faint contrast. And to make that a bit worse is the fact that there's no image control, as I've shown when you actually go into the settings and all that kind of stuff. There's no way to increase the contrast, adjust when you do a full screen refresh. Now it's locked for every 5 operations, it does a full refresh. And that can turn out to be actually quite nasty, because let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it refreshes. So it really depends, but it can get very, very pale in some instances. For example, here, and you can see that here we are actually even losing the cohesion of certain fonts, which is just irregular all over the place. Just doesn't look nice at all. And it's not representative of what an e-ink screen is able to do. So the formatting of the image, what's being actually sent here, is either upscaled or downscaled in some way that doesn't suit this screen. And then you have this conversion of pixels, which results in this kind of unevenness and blurriness and all this sorts of stuff. And here I have fairly dark but kind of realistic lighting conditions. It's a very dark day out there, so only the light from the window. And when I power it up, the sensor should detect that it's dark and it should power up the, there we go, and then you have the front light. And this is the quality of the front light that you get. So let's go and try and see, let's say, notes, so that you can see the readability of this. And when you turn the light, front light on, when it turns on and you're in dark conditions, things are even worse, because it's really, really not uniform. It's not a pleasant front light at all. You can see like orangey on top right corner, then fades to kind of bluish, and then darkens on the sides, and all around the edge of the plastic thing you have this kind of bright glowing thing, and it just really is not pretty at all. And it glows yes, it does glow, so that it does, but it does not look good, and it doesn't look good so much that my camera was unable to actually even focus on this in these darker conditions. So I had to manual focusing to kind of try and get it to work. And if it looks like it's not sharp, it's not really. It really isn't sharp. This is how it looks like. So I'm just gonna try and zoom in so that you can see how this whole thing actually looks like in reality. All right, this is the absolute best that I could get it to look, and you can see that the sharpness is definitely, the focus is there, but this is how it looks like. So you can see at the top we have this orangey type of coloration, then diagonally it starts fading into this purpley thing, and then at the bottom we have totally darkening out, and all along the sides, look how much it glows. And you have absolutely zero control over that at all, because you cannot adjust the intensity of it. You can't do anything with it. You can only turn it always on, always off, and that's about it. Really not good. Now, how does this device integrate with the outside world? Well, in a short answer, it doesn't. Because even though it does have a USB, micro USB port, you can plug it into a computer all you want. All it's going to do is going to charge. It's not going to appear as a device or as a storage device or anything like that. So you can't really treat it as a USB storage drive and drag and drop files to it. Yet, it can actually be a music player and podcast, and that's about it as far as media is concerned, but it can do those things. So how is that actually achieved with the Lite Phone 2? Well, that's achieved by using their own portal, which is called the dashboard. Dashboard.thelitephone.com, I believe the address is. And that is your main hub where you can customize and actually install additional tools, they call them. They're not apps, even though they function exactly the same as apps. They just are staying away from that, and they want to call it tools. Even more with the nose up in the air. It's like, oh, they're not apps, they are tools. Oh, really? Okay, that's a tool. Podcast is a tool, and music player is a tool. Okay, whatever floats their boat. But that thing aside, in order to customize your Lite Phone 2 experience, the user has to use a dashboard, which is also a web interface that connects to your Lite Phone 2. So the dashboard is basically your central hub for your Lite Phone, and once a connection is established, this is where you can install new tools, learn how to use them, watch tutorial videos, which are actually really helpful, configure the tools / apps, and in the case of the music player, this is the only way that you can actually upload music files or songs or wherever it may be, because the process is you upload to the dashboard the music files you want, and it reads multiple music files and it automatically converts them and then uploads them to the phone. So it's a very streamlined process, but it's actually quite slow. In the case of the podcast, for example, that's the only way to subscribe to new podcasts, and the process is really good. You can either search or you can type in an RSS URL and find the podcast of your choosing. But again, this is the only way that you can subscribe to podcasts, because, believe it or not, it's not possible to do that on the phone directly. Okay. The dashboard itself is intuitive and very easy to use, and has a clean design and a very clear overview of what you're looking for. So it's really easy to find what you're looking for, and it's actually quite helpful. I find it to be useful and kind of good place to be, because it guides you in a good way, especially when you don't know what you're looking for. It doesn't guide you to dead ends or kind of useless bits of info or little information alleys. It has a good tree structure of the frequently asked questions, and the overall, it's a very well thought out web interface. And that's most definitely a necessary good thing to have, because the Lite Phone 2, some of the aspects of the Lite Phone 2 at least, rely heavily on the use of the dashboard itself. So it makes sense that it's actually in a good state. Now, as far as the battery and the battery life goes on the Lite phone, so as I mentioned, it's equipped with a puny 950 milliamp battery. Now, that in itself doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, because let's remember, older Nokias and even remakes of the older Nokias that are now new can last a very, very long time with 900 or 800 milliamps of a battery. And yet they also have a backlit LCD screen. Now this one has a front-lit e-ink screen, which is most of the time not using the front light in the first place at all. And since the accent was on disconnecting and basically simplicity, minimalism, and all of these things, I was expecting a really good battery life out of this, and that's most definitely not what I got. In reality, it's what they are advertising. You can have 2 hours of talk time. You can have roughly 3 days of standby. Now, I did like a detailed test with 0 use, just standby, and to see how much battery seeps out in different conditions. And with the cellular connection and Wi-Fi on, it was actually spending around 30% per day, sometimes even 31, 32. So that amounts to like 3 days of standby time with cell and Wi-Fi. And that is insane, because this big phone, chunk of a phone, a regular smartphone, at least the one that I have, is able to get 3 days of standby time easily. With the battery saver mode, it goes way, way, way more than that. So that's really bad. So then I turned off the Wi-Fi and to see basically what's going on. And in those conditions, it was actually spending with just a cellular connection, so just the SIM card there, just working as a phone, nothing else. It's not accessing internet, it wasn't doing anything. That's the whole point of the device. It was still spending 15% of battery life just in standby time, which means that in those conditions, it would last 6.7 days of standby time per charge, which is better than 3 days. But if we're talking about a simple device, and again at $300, it's doing nothing. It's just sitting there on your desk. It doesn't have updates. It's not getting notifications. It's doing literally nothing except having a SIM card in it, and that's it. And yet 6.7 days and less than a week. That again is really bad as far as I'm concerned, at least. And then finally I put it in an airplane mode to see how much can the battery and the system and the OS actually last. And then we actually got what I was expecting from the device, which was 3% per day in standby time, which is around 33 days per charge of pure standby time. So that is more in line what I was expecting with the cellular, not the Wi-Fi, but at least if it could have done it with the cellular, then it would have been okay, but as such it cannot. So if you want to use it as a, well, I don't know what, like a phone that's not a phone, just a nice little brick, then that brick can last for 33 days without any functionality other than taking notes and maybe listening to music, podcasts, and things like that if you've downloaded them. So yeah, that's the battery time. And the charge time is actually not bad at all. From 10% to 100%, it took like 1 hour and 28 minutes of a normal regular charger, not a fast charger. So that's not a problem at all. So in reality, it's okay, it's manageable, but it's disappointing. So there's nothing like fundamentally broken. You can last, of course, it's like 3 days of standby time with Wi-Fi and cellular connection. You can do that, it's usable, it's okay. It's just disappointing from a small device like this that's e-ink powered, it's barely even using the screen or anything, and it's still seeping out so much energy. It just means that the battery management is just simply not good enough, and that the management of the network management is not that good, because it's really spending a lot of energy. And yeah, when I use the same card in a different phone, there's nothing special with that SIM card. It's just behaving normally, it doesn't spend more battery in other phones than other SIM cards. And I tried other SIM cards in this one as well, same behavior. So That's at least the results that I get. All right, so now let's cover the tools, and I've installed all of the tools that are currently available for the Lite Phone 2. And let's start with the hotspot. So the hotspot is a personal hotspot, and it just works as you would expect it to. So you just access it this way, turn it on, and hey presto, everything's fine. Well, yes, up to a point, but when I tested it, for example, when I do my lectures, I always use my phone as my personal hotspot because it's a school with it's a tech school with tons of computers and Wi-Fi's, and I just don't want to use even a protected public Wi-Fi. I'm not going to use that, so I use my hotspot. And I'm used to that environment, that room, all of that. I have years and years of experience with the same type of a setup. When I wanted to test that out with this phone, at the first glance, it did start to work, but it kept disconnecting and losing the internet connection and couldn't keep a steady connection for even 1 hour straight. On the same SIM card, in the exact same room, with the same exact device connected to it, that works perfectly without a single issue for 6 hours and more on my smartphone. So yeah, that was not good, and plus it spent around 20% of the battery in about 30 minutes. So yes, hotspot is there, but its functionality is spotty, intermittent, unreliable, and it spends a lot of battery juice. Next in line is the calculator. Yes, we are actually going to review the calculator. Why? Well, because believe it or not, it's even the calculator is light on the Lite phone, as it doesn't have a square root or the power of or the part of operators. Nope. On the Lite phone 2, on the calculator on the Lite phone 2, you just got adding, subtracting, multiplication, division, percentage, and plus and minus sign. Oh, and get this. If you make a mistake and you wanted to, that's a mistake, so I didn't want to do whatever I was doing there, and I wanted to maybe do a backspace, right? I wanted to, I didn't want to go 856, I wanted to type in 556. Where's the backspace button? There isn't one, even though we have a perfectly good empty spot here. That's what drives me nuts. You have space for an icon here, yet you don't have a backspace button, so the only thing you can do is cancel and then okay again and things like that. So this is a tiny thing, but it's a freaking calculator. How is this even possible that you can't get the calculator to have square root to the power of, the part of, and a backspace? That is absolutely mind-boggling. Ooh, this is rough. All right, so now we're gonna test alarm. Yeah, I know, I'm not kidding. And in alarm, yeah, it works. And let's say I want my alarm at 12 o'clock. Great, okay? So you add an alarm. Seemingly, all's good, right? You can add another alarm, and then I can check this one, and I can repeat daily, right? But only that. You can't set it to repeat for other days or bi-weekly or anything like that. So it's not possible to have a wake-up alarm on weekdays and a separate wake-up alarm on weekends, for example. Now, I understand that simplicity is the name of the game here, but surely having the ability to set different alarms for specific days of the week is not a distraction or anything fancy like that, but rather an organizational necessity, the absence of which actually does become a distraction and something that nobody wants. All right, next one is notes, and notes is actually cool. So finally, this is something that's actually very nice, and it allows you to either type in your notes, which is kind of pointless because of the keyboard thing that we talked about, but that's why you have the ability to voice type. So you can do this, and now I can add my note. So the birds are pretty and the tree is shining and the sun is waving in the wind. Yes, this is my intention here, to boggle your minds with my crazy notes. And it has an auto punctuation and everything like that. So you have the ability to take written notes, which is very, very nice. And you also, oh, I didn't save it. So let's do again. This time I'm going to be talking about a sun that is falling off from a tree branch that was filled with snails and a little bit of moss and some other kind of shiny stuff. That's all very, very nice and pretty and colorful during the fall of a year. So it's able to actually do all of this, even though it doesn't make sense. Like if I'm talking like complete nonsense here, it even catches the and all of these things. It capitalizes. It's a really, really good tool for note taking. So capturing your thoughts, things like that. Something that I really do like. And then you can edit it, so you can add a little things here and there. I'm not sure how do I change the title. There we go, note title. Okay, it's a little tricky to kind of tap on it, so I kept missing it. And in order to take a voice note or to record an idea, like a musical idea if you want or anything like that, a really, really handy thing to kind of have. You just tap on the voice icon or a microphone, tap on the microphone to start recording. And now I am recording my voice memo or a notification or a reminder or an idea or whatever it may be, and I'm recording it during the filming of the Light Phone 2 in-depth review. You stop it, and then you can actually title it. The only thing is you don't have the voice icon here, so we have to go my title. So typing is not that bad, considering how small everything is. It really is not that bad. So that kind of works, and then you can actually even play it back. And now I'm recording my voice memo or a notification or a reminder or an idea or whatever it may be, and I'm recording it during the filming of the Light Phone 2 in-depth review. Alright. And now I am recording. Okay, stop it. And then you have to click save. There's no reminders here. You haven't saved it. So if you do just back out of it, you will lose your recording. Something to definitely keep in mind. The cool thing about this is that with the dashboard, this all synchronizes, and you can start typing your note on a dashboard and it will synchronize here, and then you can continue writing on it here and all of these things. So notes, I think, work really well. It would be great if you had an option to organize your notes into folders. Right now, it's kind of okay to have these here, right? But there's no organizational options here. There's no folders. There's no way to organize this in any way, shape, or form, and you can only see 4 or maybe 5 items per screen, which makes it really difficult over an extended period of time. If you have like hundreds of notes and ideas, I mean, at the very least, I would like to have a folder for audio notes and a folder for written notes. I mean, again, basic functionality, yes, there. Usability of the notes, excellent. Something that I think this device really, really benefits a lot from, and something that you would, I personally would use this device a lot for. This is something that I really like, but it lacks another kind of the final 10% stage to finalize and make it as good as you can possibly, and you really need to do that at $300 US. You really need to be able to do, oh god, and now this. So, and again, go back to notes. Okay, so it's incomplete. It is not complete. It's functional, the notes are functional, but they are incomplete. Then we get to directions, which is basically your navigation tool or an app. It has a couple of options that you will need to be aware of. First one, of course, your metric or imperial units. You have voice commands for live navigation. You have location status test to see if you can get the GPS satellites to work. And you have default mode, which is GPS mode or offline mode. So in order to actually save battery, you can use the offline mode. And what is the difference? Well, the difference is that it's not interactive, and the offline mode, right now I'm trying to show the GPS mode, and the only thing that I can actually show is that you are unable to always use this, and it's extremely unreliable to get the GPS to actually work. So this part, finding location, can take a very, very long time for it to actually find it, and sometimes it doesn't find it. When it does, it's actually okay, and you can switch between the guidance between turn by turn, which just tells you the directions in text mode, or you have an actual map that displays streets and things like that, and then it also tells you either via the speaker, or if you have a Bluetooth or a headphone connected to it, then it tells you through the headphones the directions. It is nicely implemented, and it plays nice with the music app, so it doesn't interfere with the music, it doesn't dim it down or anything like that. And it's something that actually works, it's functional. The problem for me is that, as you can see here, even when I tested it outside and everywhere where it's all good and shiny and nice and you should be able to have GPS connection without any problems, it kept losing connection, and once it does lose the connection, it takes a very long time to reestablish it, if it indeed even manages to do that. In walking mode, it started to work okay, but then you kind of notice that, at least for Norway, probably for some other areas it's different depending on the service that they are using, but it is unaware of walking paths. So in a walking mode, it kept navigating me along driving roads and not walking paths. And this basically resulted in confusing and sometimes completely backwards and essentially useless navigation guidance, which didn't really make sense. If the phone goes to sleep or the screen goes to sleep, the navigation continues, which is good. But again, we have this OS cumbersome thing, which is I turn it back on and we're back at the home screen and I don't have any shortcut. There's no way to get back to the navigation screen other than, again, going to Tools, navigate to directions, and then you go to directions. Not really a lot, 3 steps or maybe 4, depending on how it's actually arranged. But is it really necessary? I mean, this is something that I really think should work better. Let's see if this started working. So the cool thing is that you don't have to type in an address. The service actually works with descriptive things. So if an object is what you're looking for, then you can just click on it, and still offline mode. I was hoping that it would work, but it didn't. All right, fine. But if you are looking for a specific address that has a special character, then it's a little bit of a problem. But most of the times I was able to kind of get around that by typing a regular character that looks like the special character, and then choose from the list. And if you're lucky, he'll suggest the list. He'll suggest the address that you're looking for in the list of suggestions there. So that was the way around that. Now, as far as usability, well, in GPS live mode, a 15-minute walk with navigation on and music on spent around 20 to 22% of battery life, which was quite a lot. And as soon as I stopped using the GPS and I just continued using listening to music, it was not spending it that much at all. So it was not the music and Bluetooth doing it, it was actually the GPS and live navigation. They even say that it gets warm and everything, and it spends the battery super quickly, so it's really not made for live navigation. And that leads me to the second part, which is driving mode. Now, while this device does have a driving mode, and it is doing it really well because it's navigating on the roads, and unlike the walking mode, it's aware of the roads, so that's a good thing. And the navigation was quite accurate, but the tiny black and white screen that has ghosting residues on a map basically seriously poses more of a driving hazard than an aid in reality. So I think that as a driving aid, if you really need to use it for whatever reason, it should be used as an audio directions aid only, because it has a Bluetooth, so you can hook it up to your car if your car has a Bluetooth. Anything else, I think, would be a very dangerous distraction, because you would be trying to figure out what's on the screen, what's ghosting, what's not ghosting, and that's taking away precious attention from the road. Now, the music app actually works really, really well, and it's quite easy and intuitive to use. Of course, you can use it via the headphones here or a Bluetooth. All of that is good. You can shuffle, you can loop the playlist, you can loop a single song, and you can have previous next song, and these shortcuts also work. So all these things are kind of good. And if I start playing it, for example, I can shut it down, and then when it goes into Here you get the shortcuts of the playlist or the music player here in the home menu, which is really good. So if it was possible to do that for the music player, why wasn't it done for the navigation or whatever directions it was called? That would be my question. It would be like easy to just tap on and get back to directions. This is extremely helpful. It would have been nice to be able to simply connect the phone to the computer via the USB cable and drag and drop the files like any normal device that we've had for several decades now, but not on the light phone for whatever reason. Transferring files directly to the phone is not possible via Bluetooth either, so you're forced to use the dashboard system, which, as I said, works very well, but is quite slow because it uploads and then converts and then downloads and all of that kind of stuff. So the process works, all good, but slow. And that's not the main problem. For me, the main problem here is if I go to the music list there, and again, this is kind of ridiculous because if I wanted to get into the music, I can see the controls here for the music, right? But I don't see which track is playing, and I can't access the music player from here, which is insane. So again, I have to go here and go there, and this just blows my mind. But okay, so when you get to here, where are your playlists? Well, there are no playlists on the light phone. There is a playlist. One single playlist is allowed on the light phone too. Not many playlists, nope. Just a single playlist that has 1 GB space cap. Not a problem. 1 GB is plenty, but why just one playlist? So even here, there's a ridiculous artificial limitation of not having the option of having multiple playlists. Say, for example, a playlist per artist or a per album. Why? How? How is that a thing? What possible reason could there be to impose such a limitation on a freaking music player? That is absolutely ridiculous. All right, and now let's get to the final one, which is the podcasts. One of my favorite things is to actually have a podcast because I really listen to a lot of them while driving, walking, and things like that. So we do have podcasts, and the podcast app is also very good and a very, very welcome one for me at least. I was able to find all of the podcasts I was interested in, either in the search list, in the dashboard, of course, or by simply adding the RSS URL. It's also possible that you can download individual podcast episodes for offline listening so that you can save the network data and especially the battery on the device. All good, really, really good stuff. But here as well, we start to have like ridiculous things. So for example, this is a list of my podcasts that I have subscribed to. Here the issue is that there isn't a search function to find an episode by title. So for example, WTF with Mark Maron, which has 1,375 episodes with only 4 episodes per screen shown, you would theoretically need to do 343 swipes in order to browse through the entire catalog and hopefully try and find the episode that you're looking for. That's insane. Why isn't there just a search function and type what you're looking for in this list? That is completely ridiculous. And also, while it's nice that you can search and add podcasts efficiently, very efficiently from the dashboard, the same is not true on the light phone itself. In fact, you can't add any podcast in any way directly from the phone at all. Nope, only through a dashboard. Great. Fantastic job there as well. Very consistent experience. Now, as far as the limitations and functionalities goes, if these were implemented fully, correctly, not just partially, hey, it works, ship it out. You need to kind of, address all of the stuff that I was mentioning. But all of these things would actually be more than enough for me. There's only one thing that I do miss on the ecosystem of the light phone itself. Is this separating here? Holy moly, okay, I gotta revisit the build quality thing because you see this? it's kind of opening up a little. Huh, strange. It never fell anywhere. So that's kind of weird. Anyway, yeah, the only thing that I'm missing is a calendar tool that would be syncable to an existing service like Google, Microsoft, or Apple. And I asked them about it, and their reply directly was, we will likely add a simple calendar reminder tool at some point in the future. It will not integrate with outside calendars. We do not have an exact timeline at this moment. So it will never, even if it comes as a calendar reminder tool, then it will not be synchronizable to any of the outside services, which is better than nothing, which is what we currently have. It would be nice to have a calendar and a bit of an organizer here and there. And then I think that I would have all the features that I would want out of a daily companion. If everything else was kind of sorted out and working properly, that would be even better. All right, so it's the conclusion time of the Lite Phone 2, and let's start with the cons. It's a bit of a lengthy list this time. So first and biggest con for me would be the screen itself. Not so much the size. Fine, the size is fine, but the clarity, the lack of control for the contrast, the washed out images, the muddy images, yeah, no ability to affect it in any way. And then on top of that, terrible quality of the front light, no uniformity, glowing around the edges and making the text even less readable. And on top of that as well, no control over the front light intensity whatsoever. So all of those combined, the screen and the image quality in the main interaction point with the Lite Phone 2 is very, very disappointing. Third con would be absolutely terrible battery life, because the whole point of an e-ink device, and this is an e-ink device with a stripped down OS and everything else, and it's still performing pretty much like any other phone. And that defies the purpose completely, especially at the price point. Very long power up and shutdown times. I'm sorry, but if a phone is called the Lite Phone or the Lite Phone 2, and it's all about being light, minimalistic, and all of these kinds of things, well, if that's the philosophy of the device, then it needs a light operating system as well, because it's really not doing anything much. I mean, the whole point of the device is simplicity and minimalism, which means that you have an opportunity to strip away everything that you don't need. And then you start from an Android and you try to strip it down as much as you can. And you don't start with the Linux and build it up to fit this device exactly with the drivers and everything to utilize the maximum out of this kind of a thing. I don't get it. So the result is 52 seconds of a boot up time, not acceptable as far as I'm concerned for a light device, and 15 seconds of shutdown time, also not acceptable for a light-oriented device. As a phone itself, it's not that good either, because it has weak and inconsistent cellular, Wi-Fi signals. And GPS is even worse. GPS just drops off all of the time, whether you're inside, outside, it really doesn't matter. It's all over the place. And again, I use the same type of SIM card in a different phone and it works. Part of the problem could be that if this is really anodized aluminum, it doesn't have any plastic lines to allow the antenna to actually send and receive the signals. It's all encased in a metal bucket, which is terrible for radio signals of any sort. True, it has a front that's kind of plastic, so maybe the signals go out there, but it also has a glass, and it's not working properly or the way it should, because the same SIM card behaves normally anywhere else, but as soon as you put it into this one, then it's basically all over the place. Plus the Wi-Fi is inconsistent, the hotspot is inconsistent, the GPS is inconsistent. So yeah, not really satisfactory wireless connectivity either. Another con would be the OS navigation and the overall user interface and user experience design. I would have to call it like that. It's absolutely riddled with unnecessary steps to perform the simplest of the operations. For example, as I've shown, toggling Wi-Fi or Bluetooth on or off is 6 or 7 steps. Just getting to the tools is always 2 steps, never 1. And things like that, and it's just, again, defies the whole concept of the device. It's supposed to be light, it's supposed to be easy to use, it's supposed to be minimalistic, it should be approachable, right? So the user interface and user experience is responsible for that, yet this one fails heavily there. Really, really hard fail there. No USB-C, not a big flaw, but at $300, that is something that you have to take into consideration. The justification they're saying, oh, because of the size, I really don't buy it. As I've shown, Nova Air, for example, much thinner, exact same space here. They're able to put in USB-C without any problems, so I don't buy that. No calendar of any sort? Really? Why not? I mean, why? And basically not a single tool or app is a complete experience. While they are useful and they're really, really good, there isn't a single one of them that's actually 100% complete. Even the calculator and the alarm, which are the simplest ones of them all, and there's really no point in inventing anything there. You just know what you need in an alarm, and you know what you need in a calculator. Yet those two simplest also don't have a complete experience. So most of the apps, they work fine, but they are up to a 90% completion and feature set that you would expect. So notes work perfectly fine, but you can't organize them because there's no folder structure organization or anything like that. Music player, yeah, great, excellent. Again, one playlist, no way to organize things. Why? If you can have one playlist, why can't you have 2 playlists? What's the logic behind that? Podcasts, okay, fine, I can get behind the whole idea, no need for the device to go online, and that's why you have to subscribe to podcasts on a website. Fine, I'm totally okay with that. But no search function. How am I supposed to find an episode that I want out of 1,300 episodes? How? Manually scroll? That's completely ridiculous. And that's the frustrating point around this. All of the apps are so close, yet none of them is 100%. They're all at around maximum 90%. And if you take into consideration that this is a very simple tool with very simple functionalities and very simple apps, there is no excuse that they are not 100% complete and with feature sets. There's absolutely zero excuse. And when you add on top of that the price point, then it becomes, in my mind at least, inexcusable. And that leads me to the final and the biggest con of all, $300 US. Let me repeat again, $300 US for this. Okay, that was a lengthy cons list, but that's the way the device is. How about the pros? Well, there are good pros there, so okay, I managed to find some. First of all, I really do like the design. I think that it looks very pretty, it's fetching, and it's a minimalistic design, which I'm very, very fond of. And I think that apart from not really matching, it's very close, but it's not matching it perfectly. And again, for that price range, if you're gonna ask that much money for something as simple as this, you gotta do everything perfectly. And that's the biggest problem. It doesn't do it. So, but this is close. This is like 95% there. So it's okay. And it's very pleasing to the eye. Ergonomically, it's very cool. It's very nice. It's very good in your hand. It's easy to operate. It fits into any pocket. It's not bulky. It's not anything. So easy pocket type of a device, if you will. The build quality is overall very nice. And the materials feel really well in the hand. That anodized aluminum and the glass in front, it actually feels quite good. It's not cheap. Now, is it like a perfect build quality? Well, not really. As you've noticed in the video during the recording, I noticed there's like a small gap starting to appear. It's a very small at the moment, So we'll see if it remains that way or if it grows or not. We'll see. But overall, the build quality is quite good. I think that they managed to get the size just right for a device of this type and this purpose. And in some instances, when you overcome the limitations and you become kind of accustomed to them, it can actually become a very, very nice walking companion. I do like certain aspects of this device really, really a lot. But then again, as soon as you want to have maybe 2 playlists or more easily find an episode of a podcast or organize your audio notes or anything like that, you're just hit right back in the face with $300 for this? Are you kidding me? And you can't get 3 apps to properly perform and do the minimum amount of functionality? Like what is the problem here? Why do we have these limitations on something that could be so good? So let's summarize the Lite Phone 2. And maybe you've noticed in my demeanor so far, but I'm slightly annoyed at the Lite Phone 2. And here's the reason why. When I first saw the Lite Phone online, I was actually excited about the idea because the basic premise of what the Lite Phone 2 is representing, it's something that I can get behind 1,000%. Something that I really, really do actually want and I'm looking for. Coupled with the design and the dimensions and all of that, it really started to look like this is going to be the thing that I was looking for. With a bigger battery, truly light OS, optimized operating system, much more mature and complete user interface and user experience of the operating system. More complete tools, so not up to 90%, but going all the way to 100% and making them fully functional and usable. And most importantly, a lower price. Lite Phone 2 would offer something that is quite unique and needed in today's society. Simplicity was the target that the Lite Phone 2 needed to hit, but unfortunately it fell way short of that. So what it actually delivers in the end is an overpriced, underpowered, overcomplicated device that easily could and should have been so much more. It's so close, but the OS is the thing that absolutely kills this thing. And then on top of it, like the final nail in the coffin, asking $300 for a severely limited device like this. Minimalism or not, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're asking for a person to pay $300 for something that's severely limiting, regardless of the philosophy behind it. That means that what it offers, especially because there are so few things that it actually can do, it absolutely needs to do them perfectly in order to make it some kind of a semblance of a sense. Sadly, the Lite Phone 2 fails to do that almost on every front. Now, since I purchased this, do I consider it a complete waste of money? Well, I think there's much smarter ways of spending $300, that's for sure. Is it a complete waste? No, it's not. But it's gonna always piss me off because it's so close yet just out of reach for me to be able to actually enjoy using it, because I can. There are moments where I do enjoy using this because, as I said, this is the type of device that I'm looking for, but then you're hit with crazy limitations, and they're not even limitations, they're just, how shall I put this kindly, inexperienced implementation of the user interface and user experience of the OS. So let's put that kindly. So I think that's the biggest downfall of the Lite Phone 2, not the cut down version of the features, not the minimalism, none of those things. I think those things work and they can work. There is an audience for that, limited, but there is an audience for that. But is there an audience and is there a need for a Lite Phone 2 as it is now? Probably, but it's way smaller than it could be and than it should be if it was truly a Lite Phone phone. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video and that you found it informative. If you did, please like and subscribe and let me know down in the comments below what you think of the device. Is that something that you are maybe interested in or not? And just generally what your thoughts are on minimalistic approach towards a phone or a pocket companion type of a device. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!